at first, I would also like to thank you as organizers for giving us the opportunity to share some preliminary insights from our ongoing research project in this conference. Our talk is divided into 2 parts of 10 minutes each. At first, I will give you some information on the background of the project and the relationship between AI and virtual reality in our case. And in the second part, Michael will present you more in detail which problems we face in the development process and which solutions we have found so far. And Simone will support us, hopefully, in the discussion.
Klaus, one
yeah?
point. Is the presentation visible for everyone? Because I'm
I see it.
Okay,
yeah,
so
of course. You can just go on, Michael.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. The Virtual Skills Lab is an interdisciplinary research and development project that was initiated in a 5-day ideas lab on human-machine interaction. The organizations constituting our project consortium are the IHS, Institute for Advanced Studies, the Austrian Institute of Technology, the Karl Landsteiner Universität für Gesundheitswissenschaften, the edutech startup Polycular, and for my part, the Institute for Cultural Excellence as the coordinating organizations. So what was the core idea? As the basis of our research, we used data stemming from more than 100 workshops carried out by the Institute for Cultural Excellence. The aim of these workshops was to analyze the quality of daily social interaction within teams and organizations and to develop it towards an appreciative work culture. In the workshops, participants expressed their experiences and expectations on how people should or should not interact with each other in project and teams. Our aim for the project is to use virtual reality as an instrument offering the possibility to people working in organizations, especially to the middle management, to train their individual social or interpersonal skills by interacting with an agent representing an employee in an office environment. That is by means of experiential learning. In several empirical studies based on prototypes, the effectiveness of training social skills in VR has been highlighted. In the meantime, also a certain number of artistic, therapeutic, and commercial applications has been developed. In diverse settings, people have the possibility to overcome their anxiety to speak in public. They learn to empathically react to employees with difficult characters or to social welfare recipients represented by agents, having the possibility of experiencing the own way of interacting from the point of view of the agent afterwards. Thus, while on the one hand, VR training settings are designed to enable the player to cope with internal insecurities and to interact in a self-confident way, on the other hand, VR provides the possibility to walk in another's shoes, that is, to take over the other's perspective in a more strict sense of the term. Both aspects are crucial for the development and training of social skills. Yet there is still a long way to go until more spontaneous ways of interacting will be possible with agents based on speech recognition and conversational AI. Looking at the existing research and VR applications involving social interaction, one can state that those are appropriate technologies in the sense that users tend to treat agents like human beings. They get cognitively and emotionally involved in the interaction, albeit still based to a great extent on their imagination and not so much on intriguing, surprising, or profound types of conversation. As to the machine as interaction partner, there are approaches that extend speech recognition to the machinic recognition via camera of facial expressions and movements, aiming at enabling the machine to detect the player's emotional state. Still, this type of human-computer interaction is not possible in VR settings based on the use of head-mounted devices. That is, the player interacts with a two-dimensional agent on a computer screen. In other words, two of the most important aspects of VR in terms of user experience, immersion and presence, are far less effective in this setting. It seems as if there is a sort of trade-off situation between user experience and machine learning. A higher degree of immersion and presence is achieved by three-dimensional VR settings, yet this type of user experience presupposes the use of headsets, which makes it more difficult to track facial expression and also body movement to a certain extent. The more we are immersed in social interaction in VR, the less the machine learns about our extremely complex forms of interacting with each other. It seems as if the computer, like ourselves, depends on social distancing in order to learn something about interpersonal skills. Our research project is based not only on interdisciplinarity, but also on a participative approach. For that, we held a series of workshops with a group of middle managers working in an international corporation founded in Austria. In the workshops, we asked the managers to reflect on difficult situations in daily interaction with their collaborators, as well as on their ideas and convictions about good collaboration. Amongst the topics that emerged from these workshops, the problem of saying no in a respectful or appreciative way was chosen as exemplary situation to be further developed. On the basis of the experiences reported by the managers, a screenwriter worked out the scene, which was further developed and modified together with the managers. By carrying out the workshops, we continued to collect qualitative data concerning the questions the Institute for Cultural Excellence had been dealing with in the past. That is, what good collaboration in the sense of an appreciative, respectful work cultures should be like. Work culture is the result of collective interaction patterns, which are continuously reproduced or reshaped, that is, transformed. Being part of teams and organizations, people learn to recognize these patterns and to behave accordingly. Yet they are also able to critically reflect on these patterns and change them by acting differently or opposing to dysfunctional ways of interacting. The data forming the basis of our research are assessments about how people perceive and value the collaboration quality. That is, these assessments reflect their dealing with patterns of corporate culture. With respect to machine learning, the challenge of our project will be to find a way to enable the computer to recognize such patterns. That is, to learn something about how people think about and conceive of good collaboration. The challenge of human-computer interaction in our case is, so to say, to extend the co-creation process to the algorithm. While human learners experience the office scene as a way to further develop their ability to reflect on and transform their human-human interaction behavior, conversational AI is trained to recognize linguistic patterns valued as respectful and appreciative in the context of working together in organization. Now I will pass on to Michael.
Okay, thank you. So the starting point of our scenario was the needs analysis that, as my colleague said before, was created in a co-creation workshop process, resulting in the say no in a respectful way request by the experts, managers of the middle management, and a qualitative data analysis based on routine data. And the problem of creating a scene or a scenario to the topic say no in a respectful way is that there is a huge context in which we live in. So people are influenced by culture or the role or how many people are involved in this scenario. Is there a specific hierarchy or age? What is the gender of my conversational partner? all this has to be considered in the creation process, and this, for example, the mood or the time of the scenario. And saying no in a respectful way was something that could be a very promising training content. So it might be applied in multiple companies. And we have our agent Myra, and she's female and is motivated and ambitious, sensitive and capable. And the VR training is played by a management or a manager with high workload. And it comes up to a dilemma. Myra enters your office, you're in the VR scene and can move your head freely. And the agent Myra comes in and has a request. She wants feedback for some work she had to do, and it was scheduled 2 times last week, and you couldn't meet the appointment, and this is the 3rd time, and you totally forgot about it. And the issue is there's another meeting right at that time, so you have to tell her that you don't have the time to for her request. Now to the AI part. The initial plan was an adaptive approach. The agent starts with a sentence, "I'm ready for a meeting," and you could answer in a free way, "Oh, sorry, I have no time." And think for a moment how many ways each of you would create in such a situation. So this is just one example, but everybody would express their ideas in a different way. So it might be, "Oh, sorry, no time," or "Oh, there's another meeting." So we have to identify keywords in the pattern that is from the free speech to let the AI detect what comes next. So AI looks for keywords, chooses the next step. This will result in infinite paths that could evolve from this situation. And the human responses are unpredictable. So we can't define hard-coded what are the keywords that maybe pop up. And this was a great challenge, and we had to overcome it. And could, not yet. We decided to use a linear approach and use determined choices. So you can choose from 2 or maximum 3 different versions what you could say, and then you can talk. The speech to text recognition looks for the specific patterns, then decides which answer was chosen, and then goes on with the scenario. But the illusion, there's just an illusion of multiple paths, because to control the scenario that it doesn't goes off of the script needs to follow a red line. And the AI is still in charge of voice recognition and still triggers the next dialogue step, but we reduced the amount of choices. Because if we think of what makes a human during a conversation, humans are capable of select verbal cues or intonation, or how's the timing? Is there a pause in between the words, or is it sarcasm, humor, and relates to own experience of the person that receives the question itself. AI is not there yet. It's capable of identify these pattern verbal cues, or in a way intonation, but it depends on the language, because AI has to be trained, and there's a lot more training data for English than for German, what we use in our scenario. And the missing of nonverbal cues like facial expression is, like Klaus mentioned before, an issue using VR with a head-mounted display. Not to mention that all the points that we had to consider creating the scenario still are reference points for this conversation. So we decided to reduce the patterns that have to be identified to a short number, to train later on the AI with free speech coming from the participants, training the AI, and the AI helps training the human to interact with the artificial agent. Meaning that in future, if we can generate enough data, we are able to train the AI into this specific context, and this generates a more spontaneous interaction because the context is limited and we have to discover first the boundaries of this limited context.